Alright, so let's talk about Shalom, Pharao. So, this is a West German movie, um, directed by Kurt Linda from Linda Film. And yeah, basically, this is another telling of the story of Joseph from the Bible, not Jesus's dad, but well, you may or may not have heard the story of Joseph, but I did review a movie from 20 years earlier called Joseph the Dreamer. So yeah, this isn't the first time I covered this story. So yeah, basically it's the story about a young man named Joseph who has like a bunch of older brothers being raised by his elderly father. He has one younger sibling. Damn, I forget the younger sibling's name. Yeah, all of his brothers have, they all have different names, and it's kind of hard to keep track of them, but to be fair, I think only two of them really have any lines in this movie. The oldest brother and one of the other ones. Yeah, and yeah, it's how they don't really like Joseph that much, so one day they just throw him into a pit, and then they like sell him off to as a slave, and then he gets sent to Egypt. But he ends up being such a good worker. Well, sooner or later he becomes the Pharaoh's. A series of happenings just kind of lead him to becoming kind of the Pharaoh's right hand man, and yeah, the whole story is about him like helping the Pharaoh, and then like his brothers come over, so he kind of pulls a bit of a gambit on them that kind of puts them through a bit of a morality test, but so it's kind of partially punishing them for what they did to him, but you know, but he doesn't mean like any major harm to them, so it's mainly just to teach them a lesson, and yeah. So yeah, that's the basic story. It's told through the framing device of, I believe it's Pontius Pilate from, Rome. He's heavily involved with the story of Jesus Christ. And let's see. The framing device is basically, this servant of Pontius Pilate telling him the story of Joseph, and then, there's a bunch of little. And yeah, by the way, this is told in a rather comedic, somewhat satirical way, but they still play the general story straight. It's just a lot of comedy scattered throughout. But still, it's a straight telling of the story, and they kind of discuss all the themes of said story. But yeah. A lot of it is kind of bickering between Pontius, his wife, and the servant telling the story, but, and at times they even interact with the characters in the story. So yeah, one criticism I have for the movie is it is very wordy, and yeah, they do talk a lot, and it does get kind of exhausting after a while. Some things do kind of drag out longer than I feel it really needed to. Although, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't put any expectations on, a Bible story that I'm only passingly familiar with. Let's see, and then there is kind of a weird thing at the end of the movie, like after the story of Joseph is over, Pontius has like a bit of a weird, there's this weird thing at the end with, like, some heavy wind blowing in through, Pontius's, house, and it's blowing him and his wife, the guards, etc., all over the place. And, I guess it might be a reference to something from the Bible. I don't even know. But yeah, it did kind of drag out the ending, and I didn't really see what the point of it was. So, yeah, I guess this movie wasn't perfect. That being said, I thought the animation was pretty nice for, like, a low, or, any animated film that isn't from, like, America, Japan, Great Britain, even Russia, certain countries I don't really expect the animation to be great. And, it wasn't great, but I think it looked pretty nice. It had a nice atmosphere to it, the old, ancient Egyptian slash, Hebrew feel, yeah. So, yeah, I think it looked good enough. It had some interesting sound effects, when it wasn't, well, for the most part, it was pretty cartoony sounding, but, I don't know, I remember there was some interesting, like, synthesizer sound effects here and there. Yeah. So it definitely had a few entertaining moments in it. And, I've seen a few iterations of this story now, but, yeah. Let's see, so I have at least some familiarity with the story, and, it seemed to follow the story well enough, I guess. And again, they explore some of the themes of the story fairly deeply. At times it felt a little too deep, but, because, talk. But yeah, overall, I thought this was a fairly enjoyable movie. I was expecting it to be, like, something ridiculous, and, I guess in that way, I was kind of pleasantly surprised. But yeah, I think if they just toned down on the talking and commentary, etc., and, the moments that dragged out a bit, I would have actually rated this, like, 8. But as it is, I'm gonna give this movie a 7. But yeah, if you're interested in, like, if you're into these Bible retellings, and you're interested in seeing how Germany does it, I guess there is a level of irony to Germany retelling an old Hebrew Christian tale. I guess the Christian part is a little less outrageous. Well, not outrageous, but, yeah, level of irony, but I guess I guess you know who has been dead for a couple decades by this point. But anyway, if you're into like these cartoony, satirical retellings, and you're willing to put up with like the heavy dialogue, or even if you would like to hear a deeper commentary on all the themes that the story kind of conveys, yeah, feel free to check this movie out. Again, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. And, yeah, as usual, if there's anything I feel I need to add, I'll put it in the comments. And I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Mash it and smash it, signing off.